I'm Matt Ogden, this is Rich Sykes, and welcome back to By George from Page to Stage. And today, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. So what are we going to be talking about, Rich?
This is the one that got away. There are a few of these. We'll be peppering them throughout the podcast series.
I've had a couple of them.
No, I'm talking about songs, Matt.
Right, those kind of gotaways.
Yeah, there are. I think we said on the previous podcast that there were sort of 32 songs, and they've been edited down to 18 songs. So we'll be looking at the ones that didn't make it and why they didn't make it, what was wrong. And again, we brought it up with Maria in the editing podcast.
Yeah.
If you've not heard that podcast, subscribe, go back and listen to the previous podcast. Thank you.
Cheers.
So this is a song that was that had dogged me. It was one of the original songs from the musical. It set up the character of Pauline, and it was called Princess.
Right.
The idea is that Pauline is disenchanted with her life. And she was always told she was a princess in a tower. You know, she was idolized as a kid. Everyone wanted to be with her. And that's gradually slumped. And you can see the deterioration of this princess into what she is now. And the song tells the story of that. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
It's mortifying to me that it's not going to be, no one's ever going to hear it, apart from in this podcast.
Well, an exclusive.
Yeah.
There you go. But is this... was this one of Maria's, no, Richard, this has to go? Or was this a mutual decision? You went, it's a lovely song, but it's not advancing anything further, and everything that's being, all the exposition from this that's being dumped in the song could be summarised in one or two lines.
I clung on to this song.
Really?
Maria said, it's beautiful, but it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. And gradually, what we started out with, the song was a massively self-indulgent 7-minute number.
Oh,
but I thought, I kept justifying it by saying, no, this is important to establish Pauline's character. This is who she is. So I kept trying to get tricksy with it. And it split nicely into sort of 5 verses, but they're long verses and you have to stick with them. And so each one was a different chapter of how she degenerated from being this princess in a tower to the next thing. Next thing on was she was a rock chick and tried to get men that way. And then she ended up with a guy who wasn't suitable. And so different chapters of her life kept coming through this song.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to be a long slog. So I changed the style of every single verse so that there was a bit of variety in there. And when it came to actually staging it in the musical, it was going to be that George would become the ideal man of each occasion by having a quick change. So in her mind, George, this fat schlub of a husband, would be the guy that she yearned for. He would be the Disney prince who would save her. And so George would effectively come out as that character and then have a quick change and then come out as the next character. And it would be a really good sort of quirky number.
It sounds like a really good, people could say it sounds like a gimmick, but actually it sounds like quite a good way of, when I was just picturing that in my head, it sounds like a way of establishing that Pauline fundamentally deep down does really love George by having him be the person who she's trying to mould into her perfect man.
Yeah.
And maybe as a kind of reverse side of that, he's kind of moulded her into an imperfect version of herself.
Yeah.
So that to me, it would work really well as a concept. But I guess one of the things we've talked about is the fact that you've cut things down because they are too long or they're taking too much time to tell a story or add to the plot or a character's background. But then the other side is that you've cut down a lot to do with the production and its staging. And as soon as you just said quick changes for George, a big fat bloke, all I've thought is that's a logistical nightmare for the costume department and potentially the actor playing George to have to get changed several times for a 7-minute number.
Well, that would be less of a concern.
Oh, would it? It'd be really quick.
Because you can have these. We did it in our previous show, Priscilla.
I suppose you can just Velcro something.
Of course, and it's impressive, and it would look like a novelty.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the positioning of it, you cannot have a 7-minute number at the beginning of a story that has nothing to do with the story and is just there principally to set up this character and be an indulgence.
Yeah.
It made no sense to put it at the beginning. So with every single revision of this script, the song changed position. It was at one point ending Act 1. And it was a dog there.
Yeah.
And so we put it in the middle of Act 1, and that's where it stopped for a long, long while.
Yeah.
And when we came to the read-throughs, it's like courts martial, I think. I'll go for reads through and hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah.
So, at these sessions, it was obvious that it was just stuck there. And it made no sense. So I changed the song, I changed it for something else. But before I did that, we started stripping it down and saying, well, how can we make it work? We'll knock out a verse. We'll take out another verse. By the end of the editing process, when it was clinging on by its fingernails to being in the show, it was down to 3 verses. There were no quick changes. And it didn't tell a story, it was just there. And we looked at each other at the read-through and we just went, get rid, it's got to go. Because the read-through people were bored.
Oh, really?
It's the one where people were looking at their watches and we felt it too. We were looking at our watches saying, how long has this been?
That's like your preview audience as well,
Very
isn't it,
much
in a
so.
sense? You're kind of going, how's it actually going to play out? And I suppose if the performers there aren't thoroughly entertained or engaged in the moment during the read-through,
the audience aren't going to be.
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's your sample audience, isn't it?
That's when you start hearing the Quality Street rappers, and they've started on their crisps now. Lord, no. So we were in real trouble with that number, and it's the point is it was one that I used to actually sell the musical to people.
Yeah,
because the structure of the song means that it is a standalone song, and it's very easy just to take that out and perform to people and say, this is by George, and it's just this musical, because it stands alone.
Yeah,
Great, but it doesn't sit in a musical, so now I've sold it on the pretext of this song being in it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we had other songs that we could back it up with. But it was so galling that each individual verse has a structure which is, technical term, A A B A C D A. That's so
I'm assuming matching poetry is the
that's pretty. It's not necessarily the nature of the rhymes; it's the nature of the musical themes and the ideas. So it's verse, chorus, but this was all within each section. So you had a song and then another song and then another song, which are all the same but had the same structure. You'll hear what I mean when we play it. But it's got a very delicate structure, and it's a very comedic structure. It feels like a Victoria Wood song, which is the highest praise I will ever give to any of my songs, is that, this feels like it's a Victoria Wood song. Yeah. It's got a theme running through it, and it's got all these ideas, and the rhyme schemes are good. The scansion is solid as well. It just didn't work in the musical. So what do you do with it? I wrote an album called Singular, which is where I put all these odds and sods of ideas that I've had over the years that will never ever fit into musicals, and just performed that. And so it's nestling there as one of the tracks on that album.
I mean, I don't know if anyone else did this. Anyone who's watching this on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, I myself during COVID was an avid subscriber to your once a day or once a week kind of music videos that you did, and you did do a lot of Victoria Wood stuff in that, didn't you? And I think one question I've got is, when was this song written then? Because it seems to me like the way that you've just talked about it, it seems like it's heavily influenced by artists such as Victoria Wood, that kind of inspiration source.
It was written over 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
Yeah. It was the former.
It's one of the
original songs.
Yeah.
The Victoria Wood connection with me is that one of the songs that I'm known for playing now, since Victoria Wood has sadly gone, is Let's Do It, the ballad of Frida and Baron.
That was my favourite one that you did.
Yeah.
So funny.
It got multiple views. It was the one I started with when I did the Tune a Day series.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that it's got that structure to it, in that each verse. If you're not sure of this, don't know quite what the song is. It's a song about a frustrated couple of the woman who's desperate for sex, and the man who just can't be bothered. I can't do it. And so there's this whining bloke and this massively enthusiastic woman, and gradually they get less enthusiastic and more enthusiastic. You get this great contrast. The pace keeps going and going and going. The key keeps jumping and jumping and going up. And the rhyme scheme is such that the payoff is at exactly the right moment. If you study comedy songs, there is, and especially people like Tom Lehrer, there is a way in which they develop a laugh through the rhyme scheme, and then they leave room for the audience to be laughing.
Yeah.
They are so
very clever, that.
Yeah, they're incredibly convoluted to write, because you really have to know where the laugh is and what the next bit is. With Victoria Wood's Let's Do It, you have
that repetition as well, haven't you?
Yeah, there's lines like I don't bully, I can't fully guarantee to cope without a rope and pulley. So you've got a three scale rhyme scheme. You've got a threefold rhyme scheme there.
Yeah.
Don't bully, I can't fully guarantee to cope without a rope and pulley. So the rope and pulley is the laugh line.
Yeah.
The other two are the setup. And there's a rule in comedy, which is the rule of three. So you've got, don't bully, I can't fully. There's nothing to that line, but what that is doing is setting up the rhyme for the pulley line. Great stuff.
To give it context as well, yeah.
Not meekly, not bleakly, beat me on the bottom with a woman's weekly. And that's your three. That's your rule of three. And it's in every single line of that. Yeah. And it's why it's funny. But then the clever bit is that that's not how it ends. Because after each one of those lines, you've got, let's do it tonight. And the audience knows that's coming. So really clever rhyme scheme. And that's the sort of thing you're constantly trying to emulate with songs like Princess in a Tower.
If you haven't watched Rich do that cover of Let's Do It, after you've watched this episode, go on his channel and just watch some of his tuna days.
What I'll do is
so funny.
Well, as part of the podcast, no, I'll put it in the podcast. Well, let's listen to it now.
Yeah,
let's have a listen to just a snippet of one of the best songs I think that's ever been written, because I worship comedy songs. Here's Victoria Wood's Let's Do It, as I did on the Tuna Day series. Here we go.
Frida and Barry sat all day, hoping the virus would go away. She'd been confined since his last cough. They'd finished all their jigsaws off. She licked her lips and gave a smile. She pressed live pause on Country File. Barry cringed in fear and dread as Frida grabbed his tie and said, let's do it, do it while the mood is right. I'm feeling appealing, I've really got an appetite. I'm on fire with desire, I could handle half the tenors in a male voice choir. Let's do it tonight. But he said, I can't do it, I don't believe in too much sex. This fashion for passion turns us into nervous wrecks. No derision, my decision, I'd rather watch Repair Shop on the television. I can't do it tonight. So she said, let's do it till our hearts go boom. Go native, creative, living in the living room. This folly is jolly, bend me over backwards on me hostess trolley. Let's do it tonight. But he said, I can't do it, me heavy breathing days have gone. Niagara, Viagra, nothing really turns me on. I'm imploring, I'm boring. Let me read this catalogue on vinyl flooring. I can't do it tonight. So she said, let's do it. It should be like a piece of cake. I'm throbbing, hobnobbing, keep it up for heaven's sake. Get festive, suggestive, dunk me in the duvet like a big digestive. Let's do it tonight. But he said, I can't do it, I really shouldn't get unzipped. I'm tearful, I'm fearful, worried that I'm ill-equipped. Don't bully, I can't fully guarantee to cope without a rope and pulley. I can't do it tonight. So she said, let's do it, have a crazy night of love. I'll strip bare, I'll just wear stilettos and an oven glove. Don't starve a girl of a palaver, dangle from the wardrobe in your balaclava. Oh, let's do it tonight. But he said, I can't do it, not while COVID-19 looms. You're thwarted, I'm sorted, we should be in separate rooms. I'm too cold, I'm too old, my IBS is flaring and I can't buy bog roll. I can't do it tonight. But she said, let's do it, I'm feeling just like Kate and Will. Think regal, illegal, go as long as Liz and Phil. This chiller will thrill as long as you don't think about Charles and Camilla. Let's do it tonight. I can't do it, I know I'd only get it wrong. Don't angle the mate to dangle, my arms have never been that strong. Stop pouting, stop shouting, you know I pulled a muscle when I did that grouting. I can't do it tonight. But she said, let's do it while I'm really in the mood. 3 cheers, it's years since I caught you even semi-nude. Get drastic, gymnastic, wear your baggy Y-fronts with a loose elastic. Let's do it tonight. I can't do it, I must refuse to get undressed. I feel silly, it's too chilly to go without my thermal vest. Don't choose me, don't use me, my mother sent a note to say you must excuse me. I can't do it tonight. So she said, let's do it, I really absolutely must. I won't exempt you, want to tempt you, wanna drive you mad with lust. No cautions, just contortions, smear some avocado on my lower portion. Let's do it tonight. I can't do it, it's really not my cup of tea. I'm harassed, embarrassed, I wish you'd never picked on me. Stop stewing, boo-hooing, I've had a quick look down there, love, there's nothing doing. I can't do it tonight. Let's do it, I really wanna run amok. Let's wiggle, let's jiggle, let's really make the rafters rock. Be mighty, be flighty, calm and melt the buttons on me flame-proof nighty. Let's do it tonight. Let's do it, I really want to rant and rave. Let's go, cause I know just how much to behave. Surprise me, chastise me, be like Donald Trump and come and patronize me. Let's handle some scandal, come and sit Ribena from me peep-toe sandal. Not meekly, not bleakly, beat me on the bottom with a woman's weekly. Let's do it tonight. See you tomorrow.
I love that that's it. So obviously we've just listened to Victoria Wood, who is a comedy idol, but also a massive source of inspiration for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a good opportunity to segue into other inspiration sources and where, obviously because you've been writing by George for the past sort of 20 years and making changes.
I've made plenty of changements. Like you wouldn't believe.
There's probably a few moments throughout that period where you've had new sources of inspiration, new ideas, and we know that you love to have an idea and write a song when you dream. So I'm assuming that over the 20 years, as you've grown up with all of these inspirations, what's kind of like the big ones that have helped you to get to from page to stage?
For By George, the influences have always been Northern comics.
Yeah.
I've nothing against Southern comics at all, but there is if you're trying to write Northern comedy, there's a real warmth to it.
Yeah.
And an affection within the comedy, which is something that sometimes you don't quite get. Now, when I say Southern comedy, I mean London-centric comedy, because there is a real connection between Northern comedy and things like Cornwall and Devon and that area. There's something, when you get away from the capital, that it becomes
region kind of.
There is a regional aspect to it. So, looking at people like Les Dawson, who had a musical element, but also was very loquacious, would expound. There's these beautiful things that Les Dawson will do, which again I've tried to emulate to a certain extent within what George is. Les Dawson's the gags, the mother-in-law one-liners, but he used to do this fantastic where he said, and I was just wandering through my garden, and I stopped at the bottom of my garden, and I looked up at the wonder of God's firmament, the bejeweled stars nestling in the velvet sky. And I just leant back and I thought, I must put a roof on this lavatory. Les Dawson, an amazing guy who would... His gags had this lovely development of language, and they would have. He also did a song, which was "There's something nasty in the castle yard. We know what it is and who did it, but for God's sake, tell us where it is." That's a comedy song from Les Dawson, and it's got that sort of real pathos and warmth, and I love it. I think it's a comedy that's born out of not having a lot, prides itself in not being moneyed and having the basics in life. And that's where I see George as coming from. And so him and Harry have this development, which is an awful lot like Sissy and Ada from Les Dawson. But in the same way, a lot of the female characters you could draw straight from Victoria Wood.
Yeah.
You can picture Victoria and Julie Walters doing this, and Celia Imrie playing something else within By George.
I totally see Julie Walters as a Marge, actually.
It's difficult not to see Julie Walters as any character, right? She's just incredible. What an incredible actress that woman is, and such a vibrant comedic presence as well. And a lunatic. She can play the most bizarre characters. Like a Marge, and there's always a heart there too.
I think my favourite, actually, to be fair, this is totally off topic, but there was I think it was a made-for-TV film that was the Little Red Riding Hood adaptation. It's very niche and I think it was a BBC one. It's like years ago when I was a kid, and I think she played Grandma.
Yeah.
I think she also played Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
And she said she was younger, but it's just...
A lot of kids now know from the Harry Potter films.
Well, yeah, of course.
Because Mrs. Weasley?
Molly Weasley,
I don't know. You'll know far more than I do. But again, she engendered that with real heart and pathos, because the end scenes...
And authenticity.
Yeah.
Well, you actually genuinely felt like, she feels like a mum. But I suppose that's kind of leading me on to what I wanted to ask about Pauline's song. So you obviously removed Princess after 20 years of it being shifted around and being in there.
Yeah.
So what's the song that, or is there a song, I should say, that's replaced Princess that is still Pauline's kind of like central, maybe not soliloquy, but maybe her pillar, her song that defines her character?
Bizarrely, I wrote a direct replacement for Princess, and we axed that as well.
Oh, no. We'll do another episode for that one.
No, the replacement that I wrote was a development of a song that Pauline already sang.
Right.
So there's a song called "It's Your World," which is at the end of the show, and it's a song which is Pauline's triumph song. And I wrote a development of that so that it peppered through the show. And the direct replacement for Princess was, again, something I'm very happy to share, and I can post it on here. But it's not in the show anymore. And it was a really sweet, poignant ballad based around those chords and those notes.
Is your life unsatisfying? Out of focus? and ignored. Though you made your bed to lie in, each day you wake up bored. Can you see a new horizon? Can you find a better goal? Can you smell the scent of freedom? I smell of cooking oil. Get to the gym, check in online, what I could do if I could find the time. It's your world, it stopped turning. It's your life, you stopped learning. Can't break out, can't break through. There's always something else to do. No more bang, just a whimper and a ring on your finger. Evermore and amen. Could I change it? Could I start again? There's a voice in my head of the young girl I once was, and I hear her scream, don't tell me what to do. There's a choice, that girl said, but I blocked my ears because it's all make-believe if you don't believe in you. It's your world, it's your prison of your own indecision. What a pit, what a waste, what a bitter aftertaste. It's your world that surrounds you. It's what pummels and what pounds you till you've lost that young girl. Till you settle knowing it's your world.
And that went because we'd reached a stage in the story where we needed to move it forward. Yeah. Pauline had reached a moment where she didn't know what was going on. She knew something was wrong. And so there's a song in there which is called Something's Wrong Here. Because she knows something, but she just doesn't know what it is. Yeah. And the idea of the first act is it's how Pauline gains agency. Yeah. The second act is what she does with that agency. Yeah. And having a replacement for Princess made no sense at all because it stopped her the moment she was getting the agency. She was just dwelling on the past. That's not what we needed. Yeah. So it went. That's it.
That's a really good point, actually, isn't it? I think when it comes to actually writing the songs, I know that generally speaking, you'll see that there'll be kind of like a lead songwriter and there'll be a lead scriptwriter, and they'll kind of work in tandem with each other. But I suppose in this circumstance, because you are the writer of both at the same time, it really gives you that control over, well, does this song fit in with not just the chronological order of the actual plot, but does it fit into the scenes that are telling this aspect of the story? Does it reveal too little, too much? Does it complement what's happening in the dialogue, or does it feel disconnected? And it sounds like what you're saying is that when you were shifting Princess around, it was almost trying to find a way for it to fit into the plot that didn't break the story arc and didn't make it feel like you were shoehorning a big number in just because you wanted that central character to have that kind of reflective moment.
And there are huge advantages to being the person who can write the script and also write the music, because you get that. But it's also incredibly wasteful in terms of ideas because I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not. Maria is my editor is the discipline behind the whole project. Yeah. She's the one who says, no, this is where you're going. Don't veer from that path. Yeah. You're going off on a tangent again. Stick to the story. She's story first. It's got to be propulsive, and there has to be the story that works. And if you veer from it, people are going to get bored. And so my lack of discipline in just creating a new idea and saying, oh, I'd love to put that in the musical. That'd be marvellous. Yeah, it would, but it's not going to be an intrinsic part of the musical. And so that becomes very wasteful, and because you're constantly having to write variations on music in order for it to fit the musical, rather than just be the next thing that's popped into your head.
Yeah.
At the moment, I have 4 projects on the go. And they're repositories for all the ideas that pop into my head. So at the moment, I'm sectioning all the philosophical stuff into one of my projects. Most of the comedy is being filtered into a project I've got at the moment called Village Hall. There's another project which Maria's editing at the moment, which I can't put any more ideas in because there are too many already. And there's George, which is all about mechanics at the moment. So every thought and every notion I have that's original is going into the later 2 and not the current 2 that are worked through. So it's an odd thing being in my head at the moment, trying to find all these ping-ponged ideas, and that's what makes things so wasteful. If you don't have these repositories for various ideas, they don't go anywhere. You know, I'm hoping these 4 projects will come to fruition, but there's no guarantee. One might just disappear, and so all that will be wasted. Shame.
You recycle it, put it on your YouTube channel, build up the subscribers.
Oh yeah, we'll do a podcast about it. Yeah.
Failed attempts.
Yeah, that's what we'll call
From
it.
page not to stage. From page to the bin. No.
So shall we now listen to the song that we've binned?
I think that is the perfect segue into that. I would love to listen to Princess, and I think what the audience, or listeners I should say, subscribers, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Then I think what they should get from this really is a sense of what's this character actually saying? And I'm sure there'll be a lot of women listening to it who can relate to it. Hopefully not a lot of men can relate to it. But
I hope they all can.
But yeah, I think on that note, let's have a listen to Princess, and then hopefully we'll figure out whether or not this piece is, you know, is going to be recycled in the future into another project.
I don't know. A mate of mine came up with a quote. She played it to a friend of hers, and the friend said, "Okay, I will marry this man because he gets it." And so clearly, there's people who resonate with this song. Let's see if you do. Yeah, enjoy.
Once upon a time, I was told I was a princess, locked within my ivory tower in a flowing chiffon gown. Patiently I waited for my knight in shining armour. He'd use his skill and iron will to win me and my crown. I'd marry him and we'd be happy ever after, fill each day with laughter, a meek and comely wife. But once upon a time, the dream became so hateful, I'd have to be so grateful all my perfect bloody life. He'd wake each day and tell me, remember how so bravely, distressed damsel, I saved thee, what daring do it took. I'd pay for it in karma, whilst brassoing his armour. This fairy tale's a drama, so let's burn this storybook. I'm a princess in a tower, waiting to be rescued, 'cause that's what made the perfect nursery rhyme. So I'm stuck here in this tower, beautiful but bored as hell, 'cause no one thinks I'm worth the sodding climb. Once upon a time, I felt like Cinderella, trapped inside my cellar, till a prince felt so inclined, thinking every moment of my knight in shining armour. Instead of sitting waiting, I'd get off my pert behind. I'd woo my own Prince Charming, I'd find my Richard Gere. The ballroom floor would clear, and they'd watch us dirty dance. He'd sweep me off my feet with his health and wealth and power. Until that midnight hour ends our fairy tale romance. He'd find his pretty woman was actually quite common. That's one thing he'd forgotten, ensorcelled and bewitched. While snuggling on his sofa, he'd realise his faux pas, and then he'd tell his chauffeur to drive me off a bridge. I'm a princess in a tower, searching for a saviour, 'cause every girl deserves a Superman. But I'm stuck here in this tower, hopelessly, dejectedly, 'cause speed dating for Darcy's not a plan. Once upon a time, a girl became a woman. Virgo still intacter, but now feeling quite risque. Enchantedly I'd pant at thee, my knight in shining armour, then grab my mighty can opener and tear that tin away. I'd find a bronzed Adonis with an eye for fashion. I'd leap on him with passion, without a care at all. I'd wake up as the door slammed, my knight for one night only would leave me feeling lonely whilst promising to call. I wanted to be kissing and softly reminiscing. That's just what I was missing, a mind to be explored. No matter how I'd make plans, I'd go for all the fake tans. And now I'd rather shake hands than fall upon his sword. I'm a princess in a tower, physically bewildered, 'cause there are always two sides to each coin. And I'm stuck here in my tower like Mother Damn Superior, 'cause no hunk wants a smart ass near his groin. Once upon a time, I changed my whole perspective. Instead of needing him, I'd find a man who needed me. Gratefully, eternally, he's mine forever after. He burned so intellectually and set my spirit free. I'd find such fascination while he put his feet up. He'd leave the toilet seat up for me to clean under the rim. This tender, tortured soul would finally fit my slipper. He might be my keeper, but I'd end up keeping him. So what the hell's my problem? Why am I dreaming of them? It's drummed in me so often inside my castle walls. You all must be size zeros. Grab one of life's heroes. You'll go wherever he goes. Romancers, dancers, balls. I'm a princess in a tower. Spent too long on daydreams, 'cause no one matched the fairy tales I'd seen. So I sat there in my tower until at night it was alright. Stop this princess rotting past 18. And she became his faithful bitter queen.